Hello friends and foes, Rennoc here, and today I am going to be showing you how I speed painted this Skittermander Wiz Kids Deep Cuts Mini in just a couple minutes to get it ready for my Capula RPG game that I have in a couple days. Let's get into it and show you how I did it. So for the model and packaging, as you can see, it is a Skittermanor Envoy from WizKids Deep Cuts. I did kind of have a hard time getting my hands on this, but it will play as a different character in game. And when I give it a nice little speed paint job, it should hopefully look pretty nice. So starting off, we're going to need to take the model out, glued it to the base already, and now we're going to go through and clean off all these mold lines. Now, I kind of don't like this about it being pre-primed, but basically you're going to have to go through and just scratch the primer off. You need to get some of these lines off. Now, we're not going to be too crazy perfect about it as we aren't going for a crazy looking model. This is just something for tabletop standard for just a couple guys to look at. So no award-winning painting here. This is going to be at like 40-50%, get it done in 10 minutes and go from there. I do kind of like to clean them up though, just so it's not, you know, just a blaring line across, especially this one. It had one right across the front. But clean them up nicely, and then we'll get into some of the other steps here. Okay, so once everything is all cleaned up and ready to go, we're going to add some flow improver to our airbrush as well as some thinner, a couple drops of each. And then once that is done, we're going to go in and we are going to apply just a basic flat blue to this. And then once we go over it and go over all the skin, most of the hair and whatnot with this blue, we're then going to come back, add some details. But this is just a quick way to get the skin done. Like I said, not trying to win any awards, just want to get this done. When I'm applying with the airbrush, I try to keep it somewhat thick in my application as I don't want to have to go back and do any other passes. I build up small highlights by just adding a little bit of white. Sorry for going at a camera view here, but essentially I'm just adding a top down a little bit, making it brighter, getting it ready to go in for some of the details with some of the brushwork. Now with that done, it's ready for the small brush. Alright, so now for the brushwork. Remember, speed is king here. If we really wanted to save time, I would almost just be done here because playing with some of my friends, you don't really need to take it too far. But since I am playing with some of my friends and we've been playing for quite a while, I feel like I do some justice by at least doing some highlights. Now, what we're going in is with the same Vallejo flat blue with some white, and all we're doing is just adding some small highlights on some of the raised edges. Nothing crazy, just going through making sure that anything that could be brought out a little bit more predominant, not blend exactly in with the blue, is kind of brought to life. These can be a little bit bold. Remember, it's going to be on a tabletop. You can blend them in, which I kind of do with a little bit of a wash and some wet blending, but overall, I don't think you need to go too crazy with this. As you see, I kind of mix back in some of the flat blue and thin it up back to a darker color and kind of blend in some of the highlights. But overall, speed is king. You want to get it ready for the tabletop. It's all right if it doesn't look amazing. Remember, a done model that is ready to be played is better than painted nothing and sitting there walloping still in the package, crying, wondering when it will see its time. Alright, so now that we're done with bad jokes, it's time to add some flat red Vallejo model color to pretty much all of the clothing that he is wearing. Now, once again, speed. We're just going to slap this bad boy on. 2 thick coats. Just kidding. No. 2 thin coats here with a slight little wash, and then that'll give us the basic red for the color scheme that we're looking for, wanting it to be bold for the tabletop, as you will constantly hear me say. That way, my characters know which one they're playing. Other than that, adding on the red, making sure the coverage is nice and thick. Now that the red's done, we can go in with lemon yellow and start picking out some of the details. Now, color scheme is pretty bold, but this is what the player wanted, so keeping it simple, keeping it quick, going right in. Didn't water down the paint too much, wanted to try and get it in one coverage because I was going to kind of go for a little bit of an orangish look here that I'm going to add in a minute. But getting all the details, just picking it out, being careful not to try and mix that into the red so we don't have to clean up any areas, but also getting decent coverage. Trying to get it all into the little cracks, little angles and whatnot. Now, as you see, I kind of glob the brush here with a lot of paint to get it into that recess. And then I go back and kind of pincer it out with the brush after I thin it. But I wanted to get the coverage with the yellow without having to go back over it with white and take multiple steps. Remember, this model is painted in about 8.5, 9 minutes. So any steps we can try and skip or avoid and still keep it nice and looking for the tabletop, this is all that we need to do. Getting good coverage and getting it done. So with the jacket almost done, I now am going to mix in about I'd say 25% paint to 75% water and get a very, very transparent mix of the flat red and the flat brown from Vallejo, and then apply it all over the coat, not allowing it to pull too much in certain areas unless that is desired to give it a more realistic, worn, shadowy look, like it has been worn before. After doing this, I avoid the skin and the yellow and make sure I apply it just to the red, catching anywhere where it may over drip or pull excessively. Now with the jacket done, we're going to go in with Vallejo white with the fine tip brush and just make small dots on each side of the impressions to make little eyes. Don't be afraid to go in there with a decent amount of white, because then you can always come back like I do here with a little bit of a lighter blue mix that I had earlier for the skin, where you can blend back in the eyes you see me do here. Very easy way to make eyes. Now with the face done, I'm going to go in with Vallejo black watered down and just almost drip this very lightly onto the nails of the toes and fingers of the model, and then come back with a light blue to blend it back in to give it some depth. As I go around, I make sure not to get into any of the skin areas that have been already painted, keeping that speed right where we want it. And now, the reveal.
I am victorious.
And there it is, the Skittermander named Gizmo, as he will be played in my Capula RPG game alongside my friends. My friend Bryant, he will be playing him, and here's the crew that plays alongside him. You have Gizmo, the Skittermander. You also have Steve, the Vesk, he is the dragon right there. And Azon is also the red tiefling. And all of them are a part of my campaign, and there are their models. I really enjoyed painting these models. They all took about 8 minutes to 10 minutes total. But aside from that, they really weren't meant to be high detail. They weren't meant to be, something that I really care to put on display. I wanted to get them ready for the tabletop so that way I can get them and play with them. I have hundreds of these models that I need to get done, and if I have any chance of doing so, I might as well paint them. And sometimes you can't even tell if it's me painting it or one of my kids. So hope everybody enjoyed this video. Hope it gave you some encouragement to go out and paint some models yourselves, knowing that standards can be whatever you want them to be, and they still will look great. As always, whether you're friend or foe, have a great one. Leave a comment and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and turn on that bell notification. That way you see all my upcoming videos. Have a great one.